The Split Decision Podcast, episode number 81. Here with my always brilliant and beautiful co-host, the Fight Geek. At least beautiful from the inside out. I don't know about the outside, but Fight Geek, how you doing, bro?
Appreciate that, man. Doing good. Happy to be back talking fights. Got some good main event this weekend, and how are you?
Yeah, doing well. So, lot to discuss today. Here's what's on tap, folks, real quick. So, we're going to start off with my opening question for Fight Geek. After that, we're going to jump to a really quick recap and review of UFC Fight Night Home versus Aldana. After that, moving on to UFC Fight Night Moraes versus Sandhagen, preview and picks. That should be a lot of fun. And then finally moving on to my favorite section, listener questions and more. But Fight Geek, let me start off the show with this question for you. So we saw Holly Holm absolutely dismantle Irene Aldana in a unanimous decision victory this weekend, and I've been hearing a lot of rumors about the fight to make being Holm versus GDR2. My question is, if GDR wins that fight, do we immediately make Nunes versus GDR3? How quickly do we go to the well of third chances against Amanda Nunes? And this is no disrespect to Holly, of course. I know she's a great chance against GDR in a rematch, but my question is, how quickly do we go at this point with Nunes' domination to these third chance fights?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough question because that division is so unique. Actually, both divisions that Nunes controls is unique in the fact that neither is deep. So between the two divisions, there's really only probably three reasonable challengers, two being GDR and Holly Holm. So, well, in most cases, going to the well a third time seems a little...
What about Aspen, bro?
Aspen got starched by GDR and has been out with injury. She's going to have to come back and win a fight before she's going to be in that mix. I do not think anyone is clamoring for Amanda Nunes versus Aspen.
I don't mean that. Aspen, I don't mean that. Okay, continue.
So I'm just saying I don't think anyone's clamoring for the Aspen-Nunes fight. I do think, based on the performance that both GDR and Holly had last week, it makes all the sense in the world for them to fight a second time at a new weight class. I think it would be a completely different fight. And the winner of that, I mean, as much as it's a little redundant, is the clear number one challenger at 135 pounds. There's just not a lot of elite fighters. And I was starting to think that Holly was on the other side of that, but she clearly proved this weekend that, she's still elite with her cardio, her athleticism, and her ability to put together a game plan seems to have gotten quite a bit better. So it is the fight to make, and I honestly don't see what makes more sense at 135 other than maybe a Shevchenko super fight.
Yeah, hard to disagree with that. I was actually writing on Twitter the other day that if they're going to start giving third chances, I think that Val is far more deserving than GDR. GDR is very good, by the way. Let me be clear. She's a very good fighter.
Very good, and she's gotten a lot better,
But
I believe.
What if Amanda says,
yeah,
I beat her 2 years ago?
She took Amanda 5 rounds, and Amanda implemented a heavy grappling strategy to beat her. So I think that fight was actually more interesting than people give it credit for. Considering that Nunes is knocking people out and completely dominating them, I think that performance by GDR was a little overlooked. She hung in there for 5 rounds. Yes, she obviously lost to the greatest women's fighter of all time, but she handled herself pretty admirably, in my opinion.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Moving on, just really quick. Let's start at I want to start on the Carlos Condit fight, and then really quickly sort of jump around and cover the fights going up, and then ending back with Holly Holm versus Irene Aldana really quick. But I had to cover Carlos Condit looking pretty good in my opinion in a unanimous decision victory against Court McGee. I got really excited by this, and it actually put me in a good mood for like 48 hours, Fight Geek. Is that weird? Is Carlos Condit back?
No, it's not weird at all. MMA Twitter, me and you, we were all really excited to see him come out and actually perform and show a little bit of what made him Carlos Condit. He has the flowing striking that he chains together, lots of different techniques. So I thought it was nice for him to get the win. I don't believe he's back, unfortunately. I think Court McGee was the perfect type of opponent for Carlos to really settle in against.
Court's not that bad, Fight Geek. In fairness,
No,
he's really
not that bad. He's not that bad, but he does not possess like that fast twitch quickness. So he wasn't really going to get in and hurt Condit. If you saw Condit really had the quickness and technique advantage, and when you have both of those, you saw Condit really get loose and start to kind of even play around a little bit because he was, he felt in so much control. Now, I think there's fights for Condit, and I definitely think he should stay around. But, I mean, as far as him being back and a top 15 type guy, I'm not sure about that. I think fights with, and I know Cowboy Cerrone's a former teammate, and so is Diego Sanchez, so those fights probably aren't on the table based on that, but those kind of names make a ton of sense to me.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds fair. Moving on down the card, Dusko Todorovic, the Serbian, climbed to 10-0 against Daquan Townsend with a TKO ground and pound.
And I gave you a hard time last week, but he actually came in, looked really good.
Thank you.
Beat Townsend to the punch, landed everything on him, and Townsend showed some toughness. But I think that'll probably be it for Deshaun Townsend in the UFC. I think that's 0-4. I may be wrong.
It's something like that, but I'm excited about Todorovic. What do you think about him? Does he have a big ceiling? He is 10-0 now.
Yeah, I mean, at that class, I think there is a good ceiling for him. It's not the deepest weight class in the UFC, so, I mean, he gets another solid win outside the top 15. He's definitely going to be pushing into the top 15. He looked like he had, the physicality and the striking ability to hang with, that division. So, yeah, I think he's an interesting prospect for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, moving on. Kyler Phillips, a 135 bantamweight fight, TKOs via elbows from backmount Cameron Else of the United Kingdom. And
this came across as a pretty dominant performance by Phillips. Yeah, so, I mean, it was a clean performance. I felt like he showed a lot of tools, so good showing for him. Yeah.
Do you have any names in mind for Kyler Phillips next? Because I think he's a fun guy. Bantamweight is so much fun right now. So there's a lot of potential.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys. I off the top of my head, I'm kind of drawing a blank. Do you got a name?
Well, I was thinking of I know that Merab Dwashvili has a fight coming up, a tough one, and I believe very strongly that he's going to win that fight. So I'd like to say loser of Merab's upcoming fight.
That may be a little high for him, in my opinion. Merab
okay, Marlon Vera, Chito Vera.
Ooh, isn't Chito Vera like 9 or 8 in the division now?
He's
I think
15
that's too
actually,
high.
15.
I think Chito Vera deserves a little bigger name than that, personally. I think he's still Kyler Phillips is still looking at more of outside the
Song Yadong, number 14.
Perfect, Song Yadong. I'll take it.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Okay, so moving on now. This was, in my opinion, definitely this should have been the co-main. Not sure why it wasn't. GDR Jermaine Durandamy finishes Juliana Pena via submission, via guillotine choke, 3 minutes and 25 seconds into round number 3. And Pena, like a boss, to her credit, did not tap. She took a nap, and I respected that.
Yeah, she took a nap, and the ref didn't do her any favors either.
He did not. He was holding way too long. Way too long.
Well, I mean, I was yelling at the screen for a good 5 seconds that she was out. It was clear as day. Jermaine Durandamy looked up to the ref and said she's out, and it took him another 2 seconds to realize it. So I forget who the ref was, but that was a horrible stoppage. You got to understand when someone's arms are going limp and the fighter's saying they're out cold. I've seen refs go in before and grab the arm even sooner. I think that might have been, appropriate there. I thought she was out way too long. But, yeah, she took a nap. Tricky submission by Jermaine. Didn't see that coming at all. Was not the fight I was expecting. I didn't think Jermaine looked as impressive on the feet as she normally does, even though she basically won all the striking exchanges with Pena. It was a little closer than I expected, but she did get that exciting submission at the end. So, feather in her cap. I think she's clearly the second best person at 135 in the world right now. So I'm not even sure who would beat her. I don't think I would favor Holly either. So
well, we'll get to that. We'll get to what you just said in a second, because that's a fun one. Okay, so moving on to the co-main real quick. Carlos Felipe defeats Jorgen de Castro. We both chose de Castro, so that's mud on our faces.
Yeah, that was. I don't think we were expecting Felipe, or is it Felipe? To have such a spirited performance. I mean, he was in there and he was really kind of showing out versus Jorgen de Castro. So good for him. I was not aware of, he was that fun of a fighter. So I'll be interested to see where he goes next too.
Absolutely, and that brings us to the main event where I believe you chose Irene Aldana to win, and I chose Holly Holm to win. And I hate to brag, I was correct. Holly Holm with a vicious overriding unit. I'm such a jerk. I love how.
No, it's okay.
I took a jerk when I win.
If you looked at the prior trajectories, I think you would say that on paper, it was easy to pick Aldana, but
I was feeling risky. I was feeling frisky.
Yeah, well, Holly really turned back the clock, I mean, this truly was her best performance since Ronda Rousey, in my opinion. I don't even think it's close.
It's hard to disagree. I mean, that may sound hyperbolic to people at first, but think about it. What else comes close? Nothing.
I mean, Betch Correia was not a top 4 or 5 contender when she fought her.
Holly had a big win against Megan Anderson, but she looked better
She
here.
did, but Megan Anderson at that time I don't even think had a win in the UFC yet, correct?
I don't remember. I saw it at 225 live, I can tell you that.
Raquel Pennington, for as tough as she is an 11-9 fighter. That's not what I would call elite. So, yeah, this was, in my opinion, the best performance Holly has had since Ronda Rousey, which is kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I know that you said you don't see GDR versus Holm 2 being competitive. I honestly really disagree, actually. That was one of the most controversial title fights I've ever seen.
You're putting words in my mouth. I did not say that it wouldn't be competitive.
Well, you said GDR was... No, you said GDR was much better, no?
I said GDR is the clear number 2 in the division, what she is, and I said that I would favor at this point. So don't go twisting the narrative.
I'm twisting it. I'm twisted and twisted.
I know how you like to do it, Phil.
I'm twisting. I'm like Bryce Mitchell. It's the twister.
So, yes, I think it would be very competitive, but I would favor GDR. So
it would be a fascinating fight because, if we just run back really quick, a lot of people, it's easy to forget that the inaugural, I believe, women's featherweight title fight was between GDR and Holly Holm. It was a very controversial fight. I scored it for Holm, but it's most known for Durandamy punching Holm multiple times after the bell. Yeah, devastating.
I scored it for Jermaine Durandamy, but I actually thought that Holly should have won on point deductions that never came. But
okay, well that's what I'm. Then you scored it for Holm. That's what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm saying is, that fight, I believe, was on short notice. Holly was 0-2 at the time and going up to a new weight class. Jermaine Durandamy hadn't fought in that weight class recently before getting that belt opportunity. So that fight was just a strange one-off. I believe both of them working towards the title in 135, holding serve, is a much more intriguing fight and a much more intriguing place for both of them in their careers.
Absolutely. I think that needs to obviously be a 5-rounder. To be honest, I think...
No doubt. I think if they make that a 3-rounder, it would be absolutely pointless.
Holm versus GDR 2, to be honest, is a really sexy fight, the more I think about it.
Especially considering last weekend's performances, I think that really kind of boosted our imagination of what that could look like because both of them looked great.
Yep. Totally agree. Okay, so are we now ready to quickly make our preview and picks for UFC Fight Night Moraes versus Sandhagen?
Let's go.
Let's do it. Okay, so starting with the first fight of the main card, that's Yusuf Zalal versus Ilya Taporia. And I'll let you start off, Fikey.
That's a no-brainer. I'm going with Yusuf Zalal. Been super impressed with Zalal in his first 3 fights in the UFC. I just expect him to continue to grow. I think he's one of the top young prospects. So definitely taking Zalal here.
That's annoying. I also have Zalal. Okay, moving on. Tom Aspinall versus Alan Badeau. I have Aspinall winning this by unanimous decision.
I'm actually going to take Alan Badeau.
Ooh, okay.
I just think he'll have a speed advantage. I think, similar to what we saw last week where I picked Deshaun Townsend, the larger man, I think the smaller man will have the quickness advantage and get inside. So I'm taking Alan. Is it Badeau?
Yeah. I believe it is.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, moving on to a 185-pound bout between Marcus Perez, 12-3, versus Dricus Du Plessis, 14-2-0. He's the number one middleweight in South Africa. Who you got?
I actually went back and forth on this one. I think this will be a fun fight, but I'm going to take Marcus Perez. He's got the more UFC experience. He's unorthodox. He's a guy who is a fighter's fighter. So I just think he'll pull this one out.
Fair, ready? I'm going with the huge underdog here. I'm taking Du Plessis via split decision here.
Well, it's nice of you to disagree once in a while.
All right.
All right. How about Ben Rothwell versus Martian Taiburra? Who you got here?
Ooh, man, I don't know about you, but this one made my head spin a little bit. I mean, this one, talk about evenly matched. Whoa.
Yeah, a lot of these fights are incredibly evenly matched this week.
Rothwell Taiburra is that is, those are two fighters I almost view as almost identical in level, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say I'm going to take Rothwell by split decision.
Yeah, same. I'm going to take Rothwell.
It's so close, though. Guys, do not bet on this. Do not.
Yeah, don't bet on this.
Don't bet on this fight.
There won't be any money on this fight anyways because, it's got to be super close.
It's so dangerous. Do not bet on that fight.
Taiburra should have a little bit of a speed advantage and probably a little more diverse striking, but Ben Rothwell's been around forever. He's a mountain of a man, awkward style, big power if he gets his hands on you. And I actually think Ben Rothwell is able to implement a game plan a little better than Marcin Taiburra, so that's why I'm taking him via decision.
All right, moving on to the co-main event, and this is where it gets fun and sexy here.
This is a banger right here.
Featherweight bout between Edson Barboza and Makwan Amirkhani. Who you got, bro?
Well, I love this fight.
Such a good fight.
Amirkhani, I'm sure there'll be great action. I take Edson Barboza here. I just think that obviously he was, a controversial decision in his last fight. I only thought he won, if my memory serves me correct. And I just think he'll be super sharp. He's adjusted to his new weight class a little more now. So I'm going to take Edson Barboza via unanimous decision, 29-28.
I got Edson by third round stoppage.
Really? Okay.
All right, moving on to the main event. Corey Sandhagen versus Marlon Moraes, bantamweight. Main event. Who you got?
Unbelievable fight. Love this fight. Big fans of both guys. But, I really think that, this is Marlon's fight. Corey's still a little raw. I know that, he kind of was fast-tracked after some solid performances. Felt like he had a horrible performance versus Aljo. So that was somewhat of a setback versus elite competition. And he's bouncing back with a guy like Marlon Moraes, who is, in my opinion, as elite as they come, at least in the first round. And, I think I'm going to take Marlon Moraes via first round TKO.
Wow. Okay, so look, I don't think your pick is crazy at all. I think that if Marlon does win, it's going to be in the first round via TKO. And I think there's a big chance of that. But, yes, Corey did horrible against Aljamain Sterling at UFC 250. Yes, he's looked terrible at that fight. Yes, Marlon technically beat Aldo in his last bout. But you know what? I'm going with Corey Sandhagen, and I'm going to go with him via second round submission rear naked choke.
That's a very bold choice, my friend. I don't
Yep.
see that happening, but it's a great fight. Going to be good action everywhere.
He hasn't had a rear naked choke sub since his first fight against Bruce Sussman.
And I'm not sure, but isn't Marlon Moraes a black belt?
Yeah. You know who else was a black belt? Paulo Costa. How'd that go?
Oh goodness, that's true.
How'd that go
we good
for
to move
him?
on?
Did that go well? Okay, all right. Moving on, guys. We're going to take a really quick break, and then we'll be back with listener questions and more. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude letting you know that this episode of the Split Decision Podcast is brought to you by TotalAggressionClothing.com. Visit www.TotalAggressionClothing.com and use the promo code 46210 to receive a special Split Podcast discount on all Total Aggression hats, shirts, hoodies, and more. Again, that's www.TotalAggressionClothing.com with promo code 46210. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 81, here with my always brilliant and beautiful co-host, the Fight Geek, at least beautiful from the inside out, I don't know about physically, and it is now time for my favorite section of all, listener questions!
Alright, let's get them.
Thank you. What do you think of my new insult where I say beautiful inside out, but not necessarily physically? What do you think of that?
I mean, it's a little strange altogether, but hey, I'll take any compliment I can get, my man.
Oh, I guess it is a little strange. Why did that make me laugh so much?
I would prefer you just call me brilliant from now on.
Yeah, I don't know. No. Now it has to be beautiful. Now beautiful is definitely playing a role.
Well, I've definitely been called worse, so.
Okay, fair enough. All right. So this question comes from my main man, Proper Vegetables. That's at Proper Veggies. He says, did Leon Edwards kill his own chances at a title shot? He hasn't fought in over a year, so he definitely needs another win before he can get one. And he turned down the only guy willing to fight him in the top 5 in Wonder Boy. I imagine Dana is not happy with him right now. Hashtag AskSplitPod. Fight Geek, start us off.
I mean, this we've all been watching it, all of us MMA Twitter family. So, I mean, I'm not sure what Leon Edwards is doing or who he exactly wants to fight, but turning down Wonder Boy makes absolutely no sense. It's obviously the most reasonable matchup for him at this point. His two biggest wins in his career are Cowboy Cerrone and RDA, which was 16 months ago, I believe. I mean, the guy does not deserve a title shot under any explanation. So winning versus a top 5 or 6 guy.
He turned down Wonder Boy. Forget about a title shot. He said no to Wonder Boy.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. Who else is he going to fight? I mean, that Wonder Boy is literally the best opposition ranking and name value-wise available at this point. He's not going to fight one of the top 3 guys. That's a given. I mean, we have all the controversy with Gilbert and Usman and that being moved. I mean, what does he think? He's going to hop in front? That's absolutely absurd.
That's not happening.
No, that's not happening. It was never going to happen. Nobody is clamoring for Leon Edwards to jump the line. I mean, is Leon Edwards
except for Ariel Helwani. And that's a whole different. I don't even want to get into.
My thing is Leon Edwards is a great fighter. I truly believe that, but his resume doesn't warrant that title shot. Like I said, the biggest names and his best win is versus an RDA who I think the whole top 5 of the division has already beaten. So.
And by the way, the fight before that, Fight Geek, Leon fought Gunnar Nelson.
Who's not even in the UFC as far as I'm concerned.
No, not even in the UFC as far as we're concerned. By the way, Leon won a controversial split decision.
So, either
that was
way,
his second to last fight.
I'm not here to nitpick his past performances. What I'm saying is that he needs another win versus an elite fighter, and there's none available to him other than Wonder Boy. So I'm not sure what he's doing, but I do think he's hurting his chances by waiting out, because in this game, your prime and your relevance can turn quickly. And if you're going to sit out for close to 2 years, I mean, is Leon Edwards going to become the new Ponzinibbio and just kind of be that guy we thought was going to be a title contender and then just kind of fade away. Now, I know Ponzinibbio had some other issues, but again, a guy who disappeared for a very long time, I wouldn't expect him to come back and get a title shot either. I would expect him to come back and have to earn it somewhat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that actually brings me to another listener question here. So the next question I have is from Eduardo, another OG of the show. That's at Landa Crew. Guys, give him a follow. He says, now that Cody's out of the flyweight title fight, what other fights can you add to UFC 255 to boost the card? Hashtag AskSplitPod. And Fight Geek, really quick before you answer, I want to say that that Figueiredo is still on that card. He's now fighting Alexander Perez. They have seemingly screwed over Brandon Moreno. And then Valentina's fighting Jennifer Maia, but it still feels a little thin.
Again, I wouldn't say that Moreno's getting screwed over. Well, I do believe he's the number one contender.
What? You love Moreno.
He doesn't have multiple wins over top 2 or 3 guys. I mean, he has the one win where we thought that maybe he's a title contender. So he's not necessarily getting screwed over. Do I think he should be next? Obviously. But it's not like he has this unbelievable resume where it's so clear-cut that he's the number one guy. I think that it's not as egregious as it's been painted, I guess.
Oh, wow. Didn't expect that from you. I thought you're the big Moreno fan. So
I am a big Moreno fan, but I'm not biased towards fighters I like. I understand that if they haven't quite earned it yet, even though I like him, he still may need to win another fight to solidify that position.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on 255? Does it need... because it's got 2 title fights already, but I'd be lying if it didn't feel really, really thin.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't think you're going to get a whole lot more name value on that card.
You think they're gonna lead it with Figueiredo Perez?
Well, I don't know. I think so. I mean, considering Figueiredo beat Joseph Benavidez on a big card, I mean, maybe they're banking that, or maybe they're just going to test the waters and see if he's any kind of draw. I mean, at some point, they're going to have to slot it. There's not that many options. We know some people are out, so they're going to have to fill that card.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling, but I don't know if you saw on Twitter, Yan was mocking Sterling and seemed to be inferring that perhaps he's heard that Dana White has plans that do not involve Aljamain, which would, of course, infer TJ Dillashaw. Hopefully that's not the case. I think it'd be weird to have TJ come back so soon, but I don't want to touch on that too much.
Well, wait a second. When is TJ eligible to come back?
Yeah, he's eligible to come back in late January.
So, I mean, that's 3 months away. You think Peter Yan's going to wait another 3 months to fight TJ, or do you think potentially they're discussing something with Henry behind the scenes? Because I think that would probably be more reasonable.
Yeah, it'll be very, very interesting to see. But regardless, do you have another question, or should I go?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. This is from one of our OGs, Split Podcast OGs, Jalen Ware. That's at strive2b_great GR8. He says, is this the most important fight of Moraes and Sandhagen's UFC careers so far? How much would a loss hurt both of them going forward? Hashtag AskSplitPod. Start us off, Fight Geek.
Well, considering Marlon Moraes has fought for the title, I would say no. This is not his biggest, most important fight. I believe
Good point. Fair point. Okay.
I believe that was his fight versus Henry, but this is probably the biggest fight of Sandhagen's career to this point because he is coming off of a loss, and it's a big bounce-back opportunity. A loss for either of these guys, in my opinion, doesn't really hurt them that much. I would still consider both of these men top 5 bantamweights, even with a loss. I think it would probably
I think it hurts Sandhagen more.
No, I think it hurts Moraes more because he's already had the title shot.
Sandhagen got absolutely humiliated by Aljo, bro. He needs a win.
Sandhagen is 15 fights into his career. A setback isn't that bad. Marlon Moraes is 30 fights into his career and already lost a title fight. a loss for him at this point would be much more detrimental, as Corey Sandhagen is just he's just out of the prospect stage, where Marlon Moraes is on like the established veteran phase. So it's definitely more important for Moraes, in my opinion.
I guess. How old is Corey? Isn't he older than people think?
I'm talking about in fight years. We've only really been seeing Sandhagen for 2 years now? I mean, he's brand new to fighting the top 15.
I mean, I guess he's only 28. It's not that bad.
Yeah, and what is Moraes?
So I just looked up. Sterling is 31. Marlon, what is Marlon Moraes? Marlon Moraes. Marlon is 32.
So yeah, 32, already gotten a title shot. If he loses to a younger guy in Sandhagen, I think it would be more detrimental to him. I'm sticking to my guns there.
All right, well, I'm pissed off, but unfortunately, I'm going to have to agree with Fight Geek now on that one, which I don't like doing.
Nice.
Okay.
Chalk one up. All right. Keep it moving.
All right, you got one? I swear, guys, doesn't he treat he thinks I'm like Jamie from Joe Rogan. He's like, Jamie, pull up the question.
You want me to
bro, this is a co-host show, dog. Like, I'm not like your little assistant Jamie, bro.
Spoon feed me questions, Phil.
Yeah,
you know
see?
how this goes.
You see the disrespect here? Okay, so and then I say, oh, yeah, see the disrespect, and then I answer. So
well, keep calling me beautiful and brilliant, and I'm going to expect it.
Oh, wow.
You've created this monster, Phil.
Well, the monster has to be, this is like some Frankenstein shit. The monster's got to be stopped. At Reusable Shoe, Split Podcast OG, he says, guys, how awesome would it be to see Till corner Perry? Also, second question, is Leon Edwards the most hated dude in the UFC after bad-mouthing Wonder Boy and declining yet another fight? So let me start off by answering the first question. How awesome would it be to see Till versus corner Perry? I don't know if you've heard, but Till has apparently won the bid to corner Mike Perry in his upcoming fight. This could lead to hijinks of the highest proportion. I am delighted by it. And Till is already taking offers on how much money to be paid to throw in the towel when Mike is in there, which...
But I also saw today that Cam Soda offered to send some cam girls to corner him for $10K.
I saw that too.
So, I mean, I don't know about you, but I might take the $10K, tell Till to kick rocks. That's just me personally. But
I mean, I saw the Cam Soda girls. They said we can do it together, Darren.
I don't know that I think it would be awesome to see Till corner Perry, but it certainly would be the most MMA thing ever.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw Till's. Till's like.
Yes, I've seen it all. What do you mean? You don't
okay, well, some people may not have. So if you saw on Twitter, Till made this really quick little meme comic where it's like Mike goes in between rounds. He's like, Tori, Darren, how am I doing? Hello? Hello? Guys, where are you? Hello? And then, he sees that they're both gone, and, Till's, having sex with Tori, and he's like, damn it, Till!
Yeah, I mean, that's low-hanging
That's
fruit.
pretty funny. I mean, I kind of died laughing.
I would prefer Mike Perry take his career seriously. I don't think it's that funny for him to just be a complete, sideshow. I actually thought the
Till
guy
made
had
that.
some
Till made
potential.
that, not Mike.
No, I know. Well, Mike Perry's the one who has his girlfriend in his corner and is becoming a meme and talking about, saying he's 2% black or whatever. I mean, Mike Perry has taken any semblance of, potential he had and turned himself into a complete circus act. So that's a little disappointing because I do think the guy had talent. But now it's just kind of the variety of show of watching Mike Perry self-destruct and interact on social media. So
yeah,
with that being said, it wouldn't be awesome, but it would be, obviously it would be must-see TV, no doubt. And is Leon Edwards the most hated dude in UFC?
Yeah, go ahead. You answer
I would
first.
say John Jones is still more hated than Leon
no way,
Edwards.
man.
Yeah, dude. People hate on John all the time.
People love, that's true. But a lot of people
obviously
love
has
John.
a big fan base, but he also has a big fan base of haters. John's haters are bigger than Leon Edwards' fan base, period.
I mean, I think that's true. I don't know if you saw my response to Leon Edwards turning down Leon. So basically, Wonder Boy, was trying to very politely fight Leon. Leon said, "I know you didn't write this tweet, so I'll forgive you. Go away, respectfully, get the fuck out of here." And
Who
then
does Leon want to fight, though? Does he think, the Usman fight is his?
I don't know.
Sure.
I honestly think, and I'm not trying to be mean, that there's something wrong with him, and I'm not trying to. I want to be really careful about that because there's nothing funny about that. But
I mean, why doesn't?
I think there's something missing with Leon, as in mentally.
I mean, Masvidal makes all the sense in the world to fight him, but at this point, Leon Edwards isn't a big enough draw to get that Masvidal fight. So, the only thing they would be able to sell is that Masvidal punched him in the lip, and a couple years ago. I mean, I don't think Leon Edwards brings anything to that B-side for Masvidal. So I think he's going to take, a Nate Diaz fight or. Yeah. I'm not even sure that Colby Covington and Masvidal will ever fight.
No. People keep saying that. I think Masvidal will never take that fight.
He's almost to the Conor McGregor portion of his career, where he's going to handpick every fight for the rest of his career, almost.
Absolutely. And by the way, so Stephen Thompson was going back with Leon, being actually fairly respectful. He said, "I may be new to this game, but it's definitely me." Okay, I'm going to stop doing that. My tweet game is better than I thought. Well, I guess the gym is where you'll be staying. Like you said, nobody wants to fight you except me, but that ain't good enough for you. Maybe we'll see ya in 2021. #struck a nerve. That's what Wonder Boy wrote. Then Leon wrote, "Steven, I respect you as a fighter, but you're 2-3 in your last 5. In the politest way possible, just fuck off and fight Chimaev. Good luck." Which I thought was one of the most unpleasant responses I've ever seen. I mean, I don't know who the fuck Leon thinks he is. So I did write, "Holy shit, bro, I may have to stop disliking John Jones for good just to make new time for you. Oh my God, shut the fuck up."
Okay. Got any more tweets you want to read on air?
No, it didn't really make me sound good, but I'm wondering if you feel the same level of disgusting hatred for Leon Edwards that I do.
No, I do not feel disgust or hatred for him.
Dude, he just told Wonder Boy to go F himself. Wonder Boy.
I understand that. He feels like he's got a different plan for his career. That doesn't make
He hasn't fought since, mid-2019.
Do I believe he should fight Wonder Boy? I think that's an absolute no-brainer. I think that's the fight to make. I'm not sure. Has he come out and made a statement as to who he specifically wants?
Burns. And he's delusional. He's not getting the Gilbert Burns fight.
I mean,
he's literally delusional.
That's a different conversation for a different
well, no, I mean, there's no I mean, we can have a conversation, but I can tell you this: he's not getting the fight, so he can live in a little make-believe reality.
Beating up Tyron Woodley is getting less and less impressive by the day. So
well, that's true, but Gilbert did it first, so let's not take away.
He didn't do it first. There was, what are you
talking about? Usman held him against the fence, didn't knock him down
once. Here we go with your narratives. No, Gilbert Burns' domination of Tyron Woodley was good, but it's not. It looks worse every day considering the last 3 fights. Tyron Woodley has lost the last 14 rounds he's fought in, so that doesn't make Gilbert elite. That makes Gilbert par for the course as far as fighting Tyron Woodley.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that Gilbert, needs to.
I'm not disagreeing
get
with
that
you.
next
Gilbert
title shot.
Next, but what I'm saying is, when you get in the fine-tooth comb and you start looking at these guys' resumes, I mean, I wouldn't say beating Tyron Woodley is like the best statement in the world as to your championship.
He was literally the 4-time defending champ.
That was a very long time ago. He's lost 14 straight rounds.
It wasn't that long ago.
He lost 14 straight lopsided rounds.
I just feel like you're being a hate. Yo, dude, stop drinking all the haterade.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, people want to act like beating RDA and Tyron Woodley means a lot right now. I don't think that it does. That's just my opinion.
Okay. All right. So, moving along. This is from Glitch. That's at MMA Port. He says, and I love the sneakiness of this question. Who's the biggest fight for Izzy? John Jones, Jared Cannonier, or Darren Till?
Is that a serious question?
So obviously the biggest fight of those three is Jon Jones. That's what he wanted me to say, and obviously that's true. But here's what I'm saying, Fight Geek, and I want to know your answer. I think that if I'm Israel right now, I'm Israel Adesanya, there is zero incentive to fight Jon Jones. And hear me out. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why right now. Because Jones vacated his belt. So if I'm Israel, I'm taking the risk already. I'm taking a big risk of moving up to fight someone much bigger than me.
Well, you're also not
bigger.
taking your belt with you, so it's
much
just like
stronger,
Anderson Silva,
much
more or less.
bigger.
Going up and fighting 205ers with no.
Why
belt.
would you do that when you don't even have a belt to win?
Because he
what is
talks
Jones?
all that
What is
he
Jones
talks
without a belt? He's a beltless drug addict.
And what are you? Izzy's the one calling for this fight, so I know you like to hate on Jon.
That's
but
not true, man. That's a misconception. Okay. Jones has been talking just as much. Phil, everyone started crying when Izzy brought up Jones's mom.
You can't just tell me what it is. I have reading comprehension skills, and I am following along for myself. So, in my opinion, Israel has been poking the bear from the beginning. Every single time he gets a chance to sit down and have an interview, he's talking about Jones. Every time. So what does that have to do with Jon?
Well, Jon said he was moving up to heavyweight, so I guess my question to you... my question to you, Fight Geek, is Jones calling out heavyweights or middleweights? Because there's a big difference. Which one is it? Heavyweights, because he's definitely not calling out light heavyweights.
You are the one who stalks every second of Jon Jones, so you would be the one to know that more than me.
Well, let me answer it then. Jones is calling out middleweights after he said he was going to heavyweight, which is a different level of embarrassing.
Israel Adesanya is calling out Jon Jones. Are you dense? Are you not listening?
They're going back and forth. What are you talking about?
No, they're not going back and forth.
Oh my God.
Well, they're obviously going back and forth now.
Of course they're going back and forth. What are you talking about, bro?
But it's not like Israel Adesanya has been calling out Jon Jones for a long time. He's been making underhanded comments about Jon Jones for a very long time. So, I mean,
so has Jon to Israel. I feel like people freak out because Israel gives him a dose of his own medicine.
Israel is the flavor of the day, so he's got all the new fans on his side, which is fine. That's part of MMA. Pick a side and go with it. But to act like Israel's being singled out by the pound-for-pound bigger man is like the biggest crock of crap ever. Israel has been antagonizing Jones every step of the way, and he's been antagonizing him in a way with his confidence, as in he's the man. Like, Jones ain't shit, I'm the man. So when you're talking like that, you best expect the man, who's Jon Jones, over the last decade to come back at you. So I don't get all these people who think that, like, Jon is calling out Izzy. Izzy's the one who's been poking the bear. When the bear turns around and starts looking at you after you've been poking him, that can only be expected. So, again, I get it. Izzy's the flavor of the day, and everybody's on his side, but I mean, he's the one.
What do you mean? It's 50-50, if not 60-40 for Jones, from what I've seen.
I don't believe that. I think it's 60-40 for Israel. And like I said, that's 100% fine. That's what this is all about. Pick a side and let's get them in a cage.
Okay, who you got? Who you got in a Israel Adesanya versus Jon Jones fight?
I mean, to me, that's a stupid question. At 205, Jon Jones all day, every day.
That's interesting, man. Because you know what? I used to think that every
Nobody cares what you used to think. What do you think today?
I'm telling you right. Thank you. I was about to bring that up. Yeah, I got Izzy Adesanya by unanimous decision. I got Israel by unanimous decision.
Well, I hope we get to see it someday.
I think that a lot of people that are choosing Jones and saying, it's Jones, honestly, easy. You know, this ain't 2014 no more. It ain't.
Oh. Yeah, you actually know a little bit about MMA.
That's funny. Like I wasn't at Jones DC too.
And by the way, anyone who thinks Jared Cannonier or Darren Till on any day with any belt is a bigger fight than Israel Adesanya versus Jon Jones has no historical.
Well, obviously, MMA.
They don't understand
that.
The sport.
He knew that. He was goading me into this question, which worked.
Was,
and I love MMA for it.
You're the hipster trying to defend the Jared Cannonier and Darren Till fights.
I mean, yeah, forgive me. No, forgive me for wanting Israel to defend the belt and keep the belt. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't like circus fights.
Well, first of all, you're speaking out of both sides of your mouth now, because if
How?
Jones didn't have the belt at 205, Israel wouldn't have to put up his belt, and it would just be a 205-pound bout, just like Anderson Silva did with former champion Forrest Griffin. It would be the exact same circumstance. So it's not like it's never been done before.
Just because it's been done before doesn't mean it's not a stupid idea. That's what I'll say about that.
I guess that's the beauty's in the eye of the beholder, because I don't think it's a stupid idea for the best 205er or for the best 185er in the world to test himself against 205ers.
Then have Jones go get the belt back from Jan so that there's an actual reward when Israel beats him. You really don't get what I'm saying here? You really don't get it? Like, you think I'm crazy?
Yeah, that's in a perfect world. Obviously, in a perfect world, we would love to have the champ fight between them both, but that's not the way things are setting up now. But the question was not about Jan. Why are you always talking about stuff that nobody's asking?
No. I'll tell you why. Because it's directly relevant to the fight, Fight Geek. Jan is the 205 champ now, like it or not, and Jones ain't.
Glitch, the guy who wrote a question into us, Jan wasn't an option on there, but yet you're talking about Jan. So.
It's directly relevant to the fight, in my opinion.
Okay, so Jan is the determining factor on if John Jones is the biggest fight for Izzy.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
That makes
you
no
think
sense.
You're embarrassing me. I'm happy to stand by that. Yes. What do you not get? Fight Geek, what are you confused about? Jones needs a belt for that to be a super fight. I don't know why that's confusing to you. I see that's going over your head. I don't know why.
No, I understand. I just think you're super hipster. You'll do anything to dissuade people from thinking John Jones is good at anything.
Jones is one of the greatest fighters of all time. You know I've said that before.
It's your life's goal to discredit him. I know it is.
You know I've said that Jones is one of the greatest fighters of all time, and I'm saying it again right now. I don't know why you're getting upset.
You spend the majority of your life trying to discredit his accomplishment.
That's not true. I look up to him, and I think he's a great father to his wonderful daughters.
Okay.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Fuck you, Jones, you fuck.
We're getting off the rails here.
All right. This is from Octopus Toes, at Octopus_Toes. Peter Yan said that the UFC has a plan for him that isn't involving Sterling. Any guesses for what the plan is, and what do you guys think about that? Hashtag AskSplitPod. We touched on this a little bit, but Fight
I think it's Henry Cejudo, personally.
I think it's TJ Dillashaw, personally.
So, I think either of those would be spectacular fights for Peter Yan.
And I hope we're both wrong, by the way.
I hope we're both right. I'll take either.
You don't want... What about Aljo, bro? Come on.
Well, I would prefer... in a perfect world, Henry Cejudo would be next, Aljo would be after that, and TJ would be third in that lineup. But who knows?
Okay. All right. Next question comes from Oscar Silva at WWEUFC_fan. He says, do you believe TJ Dillashaw will recapture his championship belt when he returns? And Fight Geek, you're a big TJ fan, so why don't you start this off?
It's impossible to know before we see him, but, I love TJ and think technically he's one of the best fighters, but won't he be close to like 35 or 36 when he comes back?
Let me see. Is he going to be that old?
I think so. I'm not sure.
All right, I'm looking it up right now. TJ Dillashaw is 34 right now. Yeah, and his birth. Yeah, he'll be coming up on 35. Yeah, he will be coming up on 35 very fast.
I don't know that we'll see a 35 or 36-year-old champion in that division with the talent. So as much as it pains me to say it, no, I don't think he'll get the belt back.
Ready? I don't even like TJ. Fight Geek loves TJ. I don't. Never have. I think TJ's gonna get the belt back. Although it won't be for long. I think he's gonna win it and lose it immediately. But I do think he'll get it one more time.
I think Peter Yan versus TJ Dillashaw is a spectacular fight. Goodness, that fight would be amazing.
And that's why I'm so scared that Dana is trying to screw over Aljo, because I feel like he knows that Aljo has a really good chance against Peter, and he wants to keep the Peter Yan versus TJ fight alive. That's what I'm afraid of. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, I just don't see... when was the last time Yan fought? If he were to wait for...
251, right? Against Aldo.
Oh yeah, that was actually not that long ago. Seems like forever ago.
It does.
Okay, so I could maybe see him waiting till January, but I don't know if the UFC is going to give. I don't know why the UFC would give TJ a title shot coming off a suspension.
I believe Dana said that he was going to do that back when TJ was originally suspended. Granted, that doesn't mean so much. Dana's word changes, but I believe he said that originally.
Well, I guess we'll see. I mean, that's only 90 days away, so something's got to happen soon.
Absolutely. Okay, so I think that that wraps up for the Twitter, the Twitter text questions. But I believe we have a few more listener voice questions. So, Fight Geek, if you could be so kind as to play those and DJ for us, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm really kind. I'm going to do it right now.
Thanks. I've been doing it for...
Okay, so I got the first
episodes.
one queued up from show regular Smokey J.
Smokey J.
Hey there, Split Decision Podcast. Fight Geek and Phil the MMA dude. It's fucking Smokey J here from Australia. Alright, now you'll have to bear with me on this one, guys, as this one is a hypothetical. We got two fighters about to fight. One fighter wins a lot of his fights, but has a lot of faces a lot of adversity through his fights. Arguably loses most of the rounds and then finds a way to come through at the end and pull off the win. Now the other fighter also wins a lot of his fights, but the fights that he loses, he dominates the whole fight and then finds a way to lose it at the end. So completely hypothetical, guys. We're not trying to attach any names to this, but who wins that fight? The guy that loses the earlier rounds and finds a way to pull it off at the end, or the guy that most of his fights, he wins early and then finds a way to get knocked out in the last second? That's all, guys. Thanks. Bye.
Ooh,
yeah, good question.
That's a fun one.
I definitely lean towards the guy who comes on late. I think we've seen in many instances, especially in 5-round longer fights, that fighters start fast. It's usually who can, around the end of the second, third round, take control of the fight and really bring it home. I think John Jones in his last two fights has probably, you could classify his fights that way, to where he was losing early. I guess the Santos later rounds were controversial as well, but John has a tendency to do that. I think fighters who come late definitely have that advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have to agree. It even goes back to an old saying about, I believe, many sports. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. Maybe that's just a proverb about everything.
And they also say, what is it? Fatigue makes cowards of all men. So.
Yeah, exactly. And as someone, by the way, who used to spar a lot, hard spar in Muay Thai, and then do a lot of jiu-jitsu. I boxed as well, but I never did combine all of them for straight-up MMA, but I did do a lot of hard sparring. There's nothing, and we've talked about this, Fight Geek, we've talked about this before, there's nothing more terrifying than the idea of running out of energy than gassing, right? There's just not. Because then, then you're dead.
There's nothing worse than not being able to defend yourself while you're trying to breathe. That's pretty horrifying.
Yes, exactly. Totally agree. And I've been there a few times, and it's really not fun. It's not fun. So I totally agree, Fight Geek. I'm taking that guy who pours it on late. I even wrote some names down. I know that he said not to include names, but I actually wrote two names were Lionheart and Paul Craig, which might be kind of random, but it reminded me of those. And
mine is Bisping and Nick Diaz is a cardio machine. Guys who take in big water, win late rounds. Obviously, not as much Nick as Bisping, but Bisping was a big cardio fighter. He would get you into the later rounds, really win those later rounds and wear you out, sometimes win by TKO.
Yep, absolutely.
I think you actually do just one more. I think you saw Holly Holm this weekend that way. It was a pretty close fight early on, but you really saw her cardio and her conditioning come on late. She was stringing together takedown attempts. She was keeping the distance with the striking, and Holly's legendary for her her training videos and all that.
Oh, she fought so tough. She fought so tough.
But she just never slowed down. I mean, she kept putting her game plan together all the way through, even after taking a couple shots.
Absolutely. Okay, so do you have another voice question?
Yep, last one here from Jim Assoon.
What's going on, you bunch of fucking casuals? Phil, Fikey, hope you're both doing well. My question for you is actually for, I think it's UFC 255, November 21st, something like that. I can't remember the exact date, like fucking give me a break. I'm fucking over 50 years old and I smoke weed more than most people on fucking Twitter combined. Anywho, I think that's when it is. Anyways, Mike Perry fighting Robbie Lawler at UFC 255. What's next for Mike Perry? Win or lose, but if he loses, do they release him? Send him off to Bellator? I can see that happening. And if he wins, I don't know what the fuck to say. Robbie, I can see if Robbie loses, he retires. You know what I mean? Just fucking coaches or does whatever else he does. He's got other businesses on the go now or something too. So, anyways, that's my question for you this week. It is what it is, and it is always 420 kids. Peace.
Yeah, tough question. I mean, let's start with Mike Perry.
He's going to BKFC if he loses, bare knuckle fighting championship.
No, I don't think they're going to release Mike if he loses. I mean, there's still fights to make with Mike Perry. I don't think he's at risk. Robbie Lawler, obviously, if he loses, I do think he would want to take a hard look at retirement. There are still the Carlos Condit type fights, but for Robbie Lawler, I mean, I'm not quite sure what he's going to get out of those type of old rematches. You know, he beat most of those guys in his prime, so to go back and give them all, some shots at him in his later years doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense. So Mike Perry, if he were to lose, I would definitely see him sticking around at least another fight or two. He's still, like I said, got that sideshow aspect to him. People are interested in him. He's on social media all the time making noise, so he is relevant. And Robbie Lawler, if he loses, I agree with Jim. I think it's probably time to hang it up.
Yeah, and one thing that's worth remembering is sometimes if people think, oh, the UFC's being harsh, why are they considering cutting Carlos Condit? Why are they considering cutting Robbie Lawler? Why are they considering cutting Cowboy Cerrone? They're such beloved fighters, they shouldn't be cut. One thing to keep in mind, Fight Geek, at least for me, is, what their contracts say. And that was shown this weekend when Carlos Condit got, I believe it was $250,000 for his win over Court McGee. And Holly Holm got her win, and it was well below that. It was slightly over $200,000. So it's important to remember that these fighters that were legends or are legends but have fallen off, they've got very nice contract stipulations, and that that can play a role in getting cut prematurely.
Yeah, that's true, but I don't think that Robbie Lawler at this stage would be being cut prematurely. I think he obviously
I agree.
has gotten a full run of it. This is actually his second go round in the UFC. So I think they've obviously been more than fair with him. He was fighting top 15 guys up until his last fight. So yeah. Robbie Lawler, they've been more than fair to. So at some point, enough is enough. If you're, Carlos Condit was 2-8 in his last 10. If he would have lost his last fight and on a 6-fight skid, I don't think anyone would cry, scream foul if they let him go at that point. So I think Dana has actually been fairly kind to the aging veterans in the UFC.
Yeah.
He doesn't generally just throw them away. So I would expect, nothing less with Robbie Lawler.
Yeah. Very hard to disagree there. And Fight Geek at this point, this may be bringing us to an end. So, really quickly, got anything else? Do you want to take us away?
Nope, that'll do it. As usual, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, Stitcher, and more. I'm at the Fight Geek MMA. He's at Phil, the MMA dude. We are at Split_podcast. It's 4 words, the Split Decision Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you next week. Peace.
Peace.